Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the rare Steel-type Pokemon Cufant and its exceptionally rare evolution Copperajah, the two collectively known as the Copperderm Pokémon. Though they might gleam a startling combination of colors in the light, the members of the Cufant family are still potent beasts that can be both gorgeous and rugged fighters when needed in and out of battle, and truly a sight to behold.
Cufant have a metallic orange copper-like outer skin with green spots of oxidation around their back end, head, trunk, and the bottom of their feet, with a single white claw-like marking on the front of each foot and a small green tail. There is a large bulge of metal on the top of their head, with a pale yellow flower-like pattern on the top, while the front of their face has a large trunk used for several purposes, as well as a pair of blackish-brown eyes. Their evolved form, Copperajah, have much larger bodies that are almost completely oxidized a deep series of shades of green, with intricate copper markings on their sides, as well as 3 massive white toenails on each foot, and a series of hardened lumps of hide on the top of their head. They now sport a pair of large white tusks that naturally form a square point at the end, and the trunk has grown massively in size, with a large curved end perfect for gouging out large hunks of rock and soil, complete with hardened white streaks at the end. Lastly, it is noted that these beasts have access to a Gigantomax form, and in this state, the bodies of these beasts become much more angular, with their front limbs seemingly shrinking in stature, as their body changes shape into an upright rectangle, their back feet becoming huge, rounded platforms for them to stand on, while their trunk grows so large that it touches the ground standing up, further having thicker white ridges on its end for added offensive might, which curls up on itself to form an end that is perfect for bludgeoning blows. The members of the Cufant family are similar to the members of the Aeron family in that they are mammals that have developed an advanced outer coating of metal on their skin that acts as both a deterrent against attack and also a protective coating for their primary operations. These creatures mainly rely on berries and small fruits they can find as their primary source of sustenance, but in addition to this, they also feed on metallic ore in order to keep their outer forms pristine and in peak condition. Unlike the members of the Aeron family, however, these creatures feed not on iron ore, but copper ore, their entire forms being covered in a tempered copper alloy that grants them a similar degree of defensive strength, though not quite the same extent as an iron alloy would allow for. As a consequence of this, these creatures have a bright orange luster to their bodies, and they tend to have parts of them turn green from tarnishing when they are exposed to water over long periods of time. This actually works to their benefit though, as the unique alloy that they have actually becomes stronger when it becomes partially oxidized, tempering their bodies against direct assault. The color also has the effect of making them quite appealing for humans to observe and look at, and has led to these creatures becoming quite endearing to those in the Galar region, even though the family itself is actually not native to the region, originally coming from parts of India. Even so, these creatures are quite fun to have around and are useful for the jobs they are assigned to, namely in digging and heavy lifting for construction, and have become a staple amongst Galarian construction crews since their introduction centuries ago.
As a consequence of their need for sheer power over anything else in order to interact with their environment and others, in combination with their rambunctious fighting spirits, these beasts have access to sheer force as their only base ability, though it is noted that those with exceptionally thick metal hides can also have access to heavy metal as a hidden ability.
As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Copperajah, while they might look to have a lot of defensive power to them, the metal that coats the hide is actually rather thin and doesn't provide a lot in the way of actual protection, plus it weighs them down pretty heavily, so the base defense, special defense, and speed stats are below average for a fully evolved Steel-type Pokemon. Thankfully at least, their capacity to use special attacks is not horrible and close to average for a fully evolved Steel-type Pokemon, while the physical, offensive might, and stamina are incredibly high, in turn having above average base HP and attack stats for a fully evolved Pokemon of their type, and further having the highest base HP stat out of all non-legendary Steel-type Pokemon, allowing them to take quite a beating before eventually falling in battle.
While Cufant might be on the small side and not seem all that imposing, they're actually incredibly and unbelievably strong, easily being able to carry 5 tons without experiencing any sort of fatigue whatsoever.
They typically use their incredible strength to dig through hard ground in search of the copper ore they need to sustain their forms, using their trunks like excavators to pull up ground at a fairly decent pace, far more effectively than even what modern technology can work at in many cases. Any job that requires serious strength is a job that is fit for these mammals, and this has made them perfect choices for construction jobs of all sorts. While this might not translate into the best of stats in terms of combat effectiveness, it does mean that they can carry a lot more power with them than most at an early life stage, though this does come with one major downside. Since these creatures are built mainly for digging purposes and not to use their outer forms offensively, they do not get any steel-type attacks naturally in this stage of development unless they are held back from evolution, preventing them from making the most of their type assignment. This is substituted for a variety of normal, ground, rock, and fighting-type moves though, so they can make up for this with some surprising versatility. Regardless, Cufant are very easy to train and get along with, and can make great companions for those looking to have some fun with them, but caution is recommended in trying to find them, as they tend to be hard to locate and are usually only found roaming in large fields, where far more powerful and dangerous Pokémon also roam.
As Cufant evolve into Copperajah, their overall defenses do not increase all that much, but they do gain a great deal of extra power and their bodies oxidize almost completely, granting their forms an intricate outer design that is as dazzling as it is menacing.
In this state, these creatures are still not the strongest defensively, but make up for it with increased offensive strength in a much larger form that enables them to make use of the Heavy Slam attack immediately after evolving, as well as moves like Iron Head later on in life, and their immense weight more than cements them as powerful steel types worth taking notice of, even if they are lacking in being unable to learn any special attacks naturally, despite the base special attack stat being higher than either their defensive base stats, and experience a slight drop in the base speed stat upon evolving as a consequence of their immense weight. These elephants, as expected, tend to travel in herds and rarely ever leave the safety of their group unless it is an absolute emergency or they are preparing to die, and thus can be a serious challenge to try and take on in the wild. While they might not be quite as mobile as Cufant, these creatures can use their immense strength as a counter, as their trunks have enough grip strength to crush giant rocks into powder with ease, and their impressive access to attacks like high horsepower and superpower more than demonstrate both their versatility and their capacity to deal immense damage. However, despite all this power, these creatures do tend to show an abnormal fear towards small Pokémon, so caution is recommended against certain opponents, as these beasts have been known to trample others if they are sent into a panic by anything they can't easily see at all times.
Lastly, it is noted that Copperajah is one of only a select number of Pokémon capable of undergoing the process of Gigantomaxing, with specific members of this species taking on a unique form when they are Dynamaxed in battle.
In this state, these creatures can easily use their solid, monstrous forms to demolish large structures with a single blow from their massive trunks. So much power is packed into their trunk, in fact, that if they were to unleash their full power, they could easily level mountains and change the surrounding landscape forever. While this might only be a temporary state for them, the immense power that flows through them while in this state allows Copperajah to utilize a unique G-Max move known as G-Max Steel Surge, which takes the standard max steel spike attack and infuses it with copper in order to create an attack that leaves a steel-type entry hazard on the opposing side, allowing these monsters as a whole to use their Dynamax power to the fullest to keep the opposition hurting the more they choose to switch their Pokémon in and out.
These gorgeous-looking pachyderms can bring a smile to the face of anyone that is looking to play or battle with them, and more than have use in either state. As Cufant, these creatures are just so incredibly cute and fun to play with, but they sometimes do not know their full strength and can send others flying if they're not cautious. On the other hand, their evolution Copperajah truly have a majestic appearance that simply cannot be readily beaten when it comes to Steel-type Pokémon. The way that their oxidized bodies show such a unique pattern of color in their outer metal hide is truly astounding, and it often provides a handy distraction that can allow these powerful mammals to bludgeon and decimate those that try to challenge them. The fact that they can even Gigantomax only makes them that much more impressive, and while they might be all about power and can more than deliver on that, they can still make a name for themselves as a friend, and quite the sight to see at dusk in the summertime, provided you don't let a small rodent Pokemon like Wormwood whip them up into an uncontrolled rampaging state.
While they might lack the superior defenses that the Steel type is known for, the members of the Cufant family are still worthy beasts to work with if you need to outlast and crush those with poor physical defenses. They certainly might not be the easiest of Pokemon to readily find in places like the Galar region, but that just makes them all the more worthwhile to hunt down and add to one's collection.
Just do yourself a favor and make sure that you watch where you're going if you choose to work alongside one. They might not try to step on you intentionally, but if you slip up even once and get in the way of their feet, there likely won't be much that can save you from an untimely demise when they march right over and on top of you.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz, to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.